promise that you pledged your only son. What about
The jury watched that video yesterday, and they know that is the last performance ever by Michael Jackson. It was caught on video. It's evidence in this case. Welcome back to HLN Special Report. We expect testimony to resume in just over 10 minutes or so inside the courthouse. But outside the courthouse right now, our own Jane Velez-Mitchell, host of Issues every night at 7 here on HLN, is in the crowd again. What's happening right now, Jane?
Well, I am here behind the police tape on the fan crowd side. You can see the media over here. You can see that there are fans on both sides of the aisle. If you come back this way, you can see that there are a bunch of supporters of Michael Jackson fans as well as Dr. Murray supporters. But a very interesting person here in the public arena is Dr. Barry Friedman, anesthesiologist, who is here with his own IV setup, including propofol. Explain to me what you have here, doctor.
This is a very simple but crude way of giving propofol. I used this for 10 years, and it was safe because I, unlike Dr. Murray, was in constant attendance, watching my patient and monitoring them.
Now, we've heard a lot about propofol, which is also known as Diprovan. You have a bottle, and I'd like you to show that to us.
Yes, this is factory strength propofol, and this is diluted half strength.
So how much is this?
This is 200 milligrams, 10 milligrams per cc, 20 cc's.
And Dr. Conrad Murray had allegedly ordered a lot more than that.
Yes, about 50 of these bottles and 130 bottles of 100 cc's,
now,
about 4.5 gallons worth.
Why are you here with this setup? Do you realize that some might say this is a tad bizarre for an anesthesiologist to be on the street corner with an IV drip in full getup? Why?
I want people to know that they have nothing to fear about propofol, that hundreds of millions of patients have had propofol safely because someone was watching, unlike Conrad Murray, someone was watching and monitoring. It is not the propofol that killed Michael Jackson. It is Conrad Murray's patently unsafe and reckless practice of leaving his patient and not being able to listen to the patient breathe or the pulse oximeter sound.
Now, a lot has been made of the crudeness of his setup. You have an IV drip here. You've got propofol. And tell us about this, because obviously in a surgical setting, you're going to have a computerized pump, which is very accurate about how much of the drug it is just administering to the patient. But this, do you believe, is more of the setup that Dr. Murray had with Michael Jackson?
Unquestionably, he was using a crude setup with a roller pump or something like that. But it's not unsafe. This little roller here rolls up and down and controls the size of the dripping. And so this is not an unsafe way to give propofol if you're watching the patient. But once you leave the room, anything can happen.
How quickly can things happen?
Well, you only have 3 to 5 minutes of the patient not breathing before the brain dies. So if you're out of the room for 46 minutes, as is alleged with Dr. Murray, then Michael Jackson was probably dead for more than 30 of those minutes.
And this is all alleged. He is on trial. Let's not convict him. That's up to a jury. But it can happen very quickly. You were saying that it's only 3 to 5 minutes of oxygen before you, if you lose that, you go into some kind of a brain, basically brain dead, almost.
Right, right. You see what happens with the propofol is the tongue falls in the back of the airway.
Well, that's a lot of complexity, but suffice it to say, we've got a doctor here on call right outside court. Back to you.
Only in L.A., although I'd expect to see a plastic surgeon next door to this guy. Thanks so much, Dan. Let's go inside the courthouse now.
Murray,
Alan Duke. Alan Duke, what's happening inside the courthouse today? We've got continued testimony of a witness who didn't finish his testimony yesterday.
EG executives will undergo cross-examination and finish his testimony. And then we will have Michael Amir Williams, who is the former personal assistant to Michael Jackson. We'll talk about the chaotic day that Michael died. That ought to be awfully interesting. We've heard his testimony before, but I expect that he will add some drama to it, talking about how the children of Michael Jackson were reacting to word of their father's death. But right now we're going to have a hearing with the lawyers outside the presence of the jury. You won't see that on TV, and then the jury will come in just a few minutes.
All right, Alan Duke inside the courthouse. I know you got to get your seat inside that courtroom, so thanks so much, Alan. We appreciate it. Judge Alex, this trial, a little bit different than the last one that we covered down in Orlando involving Kaylee Marie Anthony as the victim. The victim here, much different. It's Michael Jackson. This is the victim in this case. I've never seen anything like this, Judge, especially on day one. And it's always a challenge for the prosecution to make the victim real and bring that victim to life and understand what happened to the victim. Prosecution did that yesterday in their opening statement and with their first witness. I thought it was an amazing job to make Michael Jackson alive and human.
Yeah, I thought both opening statements were excellent. And, of course, now we got to wait and see what the evidence shows, because as I used to tell jurors, opening statements are like the picture on the box of a jigsaw puzzle. The whole purpose of the opening statement is so that when the evidence comes in bits and pieces, and it may not come in chronological order, the jury will still know why it's important, because somebody has shown them what the picture on the jigsaw puzzle box looks like. It's up to them to decide whether those pieces actually fit to make it look that way. So, as we heard, in the last opening statement, in the Casey Marie Anthony case, there were all kinds of allegations made by the attorney for the defense about the father was sexually molesting his daughter that never were proven in the case. Apparently didn't matter to the jury in that case, but that's why you can't just accept everything the state or the defense says in opening statements. It's just a picture. Now the jury hears the evidence and they decide what really happened. What picture is the real picture? But I thought both sides did a very good job. And like you said, the prosecution showing that background picture of him laying in a gurney, juxtaposed with that picture of him performing just the day before. I thought that was very, very powerful.
Absolutely. Speaking of pictures, let's take a look at what's happening inside the courtroom, folks. We take the camera in the courtroom. We got it? There it is. All right, that's the seal. This is what you are going to see when the jury is not inside this courtroom, okay? As soon as they pull that camera back, that means the jury's in, and that means we are live. But until the jury enters the courtroom, we can't take you in there and show you what's happening. But as Alan Duke reported, apparently the lawyers and the judge discussing some legal issues right now. Then they'll call for the jury, bring them in, and then we'll show you everything that happens inside the courtroom today. Natisha Lance, yesterday I thought was a good first day for the prosecution. And I thought so because, yeah, the defense, nice opening statement and all, but there was no big, like, wow, oh my goodness kind of moment like we had down in Orlando with Jose Baez. And, they're doing their case the way they're doing it. But I think the prosecution right now had a better day one.
Well, yeah, they have everybody talking about that audio tape that they played. It was a big surprise to everybody. The defense apparently didn't know it was going to come out. The Jackson family didn't know about it. So I think that set the tone for what is coming. And that was just a snippet, Vinny. They said that they are going to play more of that audio tape as the course of the case goes on. But something that has raised a point to me is that if Conrad Murray heard this on May 10th, why did he continue to tell everybody involved that Michael Jackson was fine? If this was the state that he found him in when he first started treating him, why didn't he raise any red flags?
Yeah, Mike Brooks, that's going to be a question I think the defense has to answer here, is exactly what was Dr. Conrad Murray doing? What was the master plan here? I mean, you're trying to wean someone off of propofol.
Right.
We heard that. But, he's ordering all that propofol. How do you wean someone off with 4.5 gallons of the stuff?
4.9 gallons, the prosecution says, Vinny. And the other question is, why didn't Dr. Murray let the paramedics know who were there trying to treat Michael the morning of when everything happened? Why didn't he let them know he had given him propofol? And then when he got to UCLA Medical Center, why didn't you let the ER docs know that he had given him propofol? He's got a lot of questions to answer, and I don't know how the defense is going to answer that. Well, Dr. Murray, why didn't you tell the doctors and the paramedics what you had given Michael Jackson?
All right, we're going to take you live inside the courtroom very, very soon. That's because we understand Dr. Conrad Murray's in there with his attorneys. When the jury enters the courtroom, we'll take you in live right here on HLN. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter, folks. I'm tweeting from the courthouse. Just follow me at Vinny Politan. You can also follow everything that happens inside the courtroom by following our Conrad Murray trial blog. Just log on to HLNTV.com/Michael Jackson. We're waiting for court to start. Just a few minutes.